Hi everyone. So I'm getting a lot of questions on chapter 1, number 8, and it's been worked out step by step, including numbers, several times. Um, and so I don't actually think that students are still having problems with this problem. I think what they're having problems with are their calculators. Yes, that's what I think it is. So and several students have actually posted that they did this, 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 and I'm like, yep, that's exactly the right process, but they're still getting the wrong numbers. And so I thought, what the heck, let's do a little calculator refresher because we just got to shake the rust off on algebra or on our calculators or whatever when we get going with a quantitative class like chemistry again. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to work this out step by step and show it on the calculator. And so you can plug in the exact same numbers the exact same way. Um, if you have a TI-30, these are 10 bucks, greatest calculator for the money you can get. You can also use, a lot of people have these ones. They work exactly the same way. The buttons are a little bit better, but these cost 100, 120, 150. These cost 10. So I kind of like these. Save the money for the Haagen-Dazs or Ben and Jerry's or Mountain Dew. Anyway, so here we go. So I didn't do a density problem in the notes because it's something we do in the first experiment and it's just a definition. So it's not a straight conversion problem. You don't have to do it like a conversion. You can force it into a conversion factor label kind of thing, but um, probably it's easier to just say, let's do it as a definition, right? If you have to know the definitions of everything anyway. So if you have something where there's a definition involved, just write density is defined as the mass over the volume. And so we just have to calculate the mass, calculate the volume, and plug them in, and we'll be good to go. And there's some conversions because they want this to be in grams per centimeters cubed, right? And so we could do it, we could plug it in the way it is, uh, and then do the conversions, but that would be a mess, wouldn't it? It's going to be a lot better strategy to say, okay, we're given the mass in kilograms, but wouldn't it be nicer if we converted it to grams first and plugged it in? So let's do that conversion. So we have 2 times 10 to the 36, and I realize you probably can't read the printout very well, um, just the way that I couldn't blow it up because of the way WebAssign doesn't adjust things. But you have this on your WebAssign, so you don't need it, right? So you have your mass that you're given, and we're going to convert that to grams. What's our conversion factor? Well, we know 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. So I want kilograms to cancel. So in my conversion factor, I'm going to put 1 kilogram on the bottom and 1,000 grams on the top. That cancels. And so that times 1,000 is 2.0. Your numbers are different, right? These are randomized. Times 10 to the 39th grams, right? Because 1,000 is 10 to the third. So when you multiply, you just add the exponent. So you don't need a calculator for that, do you? Okay, so that's the mass. Now volume, we're going to need the volume of a sphere. We need that formula, and we need the radius for that, right? Now they give us the radius in kilometers. We're going to want it in centimeters. So let's do that conversion. 7.8 times 10 to the fifth kilometers. So I'm not going to write out our definitions here. I'm just going to do it like we know those already, okay? But you certainly, if you're still having a little trouble with conversions, write all them out, right? But kilometers to centimeters, well, I remember when I was writing my dinosaur to chemistry class, I'd look at the table and I'd figure out, well, what do I need to multiply or divide by to go straight from kilometers to centimeters? And we can certainly do that. And a lot of you probably did that and got the right answer. But that's not a very good strategy because you can make mistakes. Anybody can make mistakes. I've seen the best students I've ever met move the decimal place the wrong way, and then they kick themselves about it, right? So you want to build in practices where you're not going to make a mistake. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go to meters first. So we know there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Units cancel, so we know we haven't goofed. And then we know there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And that cancels, and so we know we haven't goofed. That's a lot easier than figuring out that's 10 to the 5th. Or, you know, you look at their table like some students have certainly been taught, and you count, oh, it's going to move 5 decimal places. And you can probably figure out which way to move the decimal place, but under the pressure of a test, and then there's going to be a little timer up in the window, yuck, right? So you don't want to do that. All right, so then that's going to be what? 7.8. We're going to add the exponents, right? So 10 to the 10th centimeters. That's the radius. Okay, so what's the volume of a sphere? Volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. And so 4/3 pi and 7.8 times 10 to the 10th centimeters, that whole thing cubed. All right, so let's see if we can do this on our calculator. I'll just hold it side by side. Hopefully the glare's not great. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to clear that out. All right, I'm going to work from the right to the left because it's raised to a power, and that'll be easier for me. So 7.8, you got to use the scientific notation button. You see that second EE? On these ones, some of them it's second EE. Can you see it? There. Some of them it's the first button, but you can find it. Some calculators might even say EXP. But so you've got that. Let's see if I can zoom in even better here. 7.8, and then you just enter. That means times 10 to the 10th. So that's one number. That's just like entering the number 2 in there. And your calculator will treat it as one number. So you don't have to worry about parentheses, and that's where a lot of problems are coming into play. And so we're going to raise that to the 3rd power. You just do this little caret button up to the 3rd power. Now, you wouldn't actually have to hit the equals button right now. You could just type in the rest of it. Calculators can handle order of operations just fine. But, you know, I'm old, so I'm going to hit the equals button. What the heck? And I look at it, and does that make sense? It looks about right, doesn't it? Something times 10 to the 10th raised to the 3rd power. So it's going to be in the 30s because you take 7.8 cubed as well. So it looks pretty good to me. And then we're going to multiply times 4, divide by 3, and then take it times pi. Now, there might be a pi button on here. Getting hungry for dessert. Where's my pi button? No pi button. So I just have to remember that it's 3.1416. And plug that in. Hit equals. No parentheses, no nothing, right? The calculator can handle it just fine. And I got 1.99 times 10 to the 33rd. So let's get that on there. 1.99 times 10 to the 33rd. And that's going to be centimeters cubed, right? Good deal. Okay, so density. Mass over volume. So we've got 2 times 10 to the 39th. Now, this one, you got to keep all your decimal places, right? This one just happened to be 2.0 on this one. So that's in grams. And then 1.99, so I've got at least 3 digits, times 10 to the 33rd centimeters cubed. Now, when you look at this, because people are going to make calculator errors. So it's nice to be able to look at the numbers and have some idea what it should be. 10 to the 39 divided by 10 to the 33rd is 10 to the 6th, right? So actually, this is round enough. I know this is going to be 1 times 10 to the 6th is the answer. Now, yours are different because they're randomized numbers. But let's go ahead and plug it in. And here's the nice thing about these calculators, too. That number, the volume is in my memory, right? That's in there. And so I can just enter 2 second E 39 divided by that answer, second answer, and that gets it on there. And so it's divided by the answer that was in the memory before it. I hit equals, and look at that. I think I was right. If you look at 1.006 times 10 to the 6, if I count my decimal places, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or I could force the calculator to show it to me in that format. All right, so that's how you do number 8. I hope this helps. I know it's really frustrating. You know, in the old days, back before the internet was invented, it was a lot less frustrating for students to do homework. They would just hand in the homework to me, and a week later, if I'm being a good person, they get their homework back and they get these things marked wrong. So I know it's frustrating, right? Because you're like, why is it wrong? But at least now in the internet age, you get to fix it, right? And it's frustrating, I know, but I'm guessing that it's not actually solving the problem. You got a conversion, you got a conversion. You can make a mistake on either one of them. You plug it into the density definition. You can make a but it's calculator errors. That's what we're seeing. So get used to using the scientific notation button. Most of the errors that I've seen have been due to that. People using parentheses or times 10, this using this 10 to the x button up there and stuff like that with parentheses. Don't do that. It's a nightmare. Use the scientific notation button. If you don't have a calculator that has a scientific notation button, then I would, I recommend trying to get one of these for 10 bucks. But if you can't do that either, then you got to use your parentheses, right? You got to be careful and know how to get the right number on it. And you can practice another version on these. Now it's going to show scientific notation, or I'm sorry, it's going to show sig figs off on those ones because I can't shut that off. But at least you can see whether you're getting the right number or not, right? It's not graded or anything. You can just see, and that way you know you're able to use the calculator correctly for the test, which is only a week away. All right. So I will post this, and hopefully that will help with the homework. Thanks.